How do I live without fear because of the violence and injustice in the world that's so frightening to me?
You know, I was taught many, many, many years ago in the science of mind, I live in a safe universe. I live in a safe universe. And I thought, wow, that was not true in my childhood. I did not live in a safe universe. I lived in an abusive family. How can you tell me I live in a safe universe? But do you see, that's the very thing we're talking about. Can I see? How shall I see? Let's not even ask these as questions. Beginning to see that in the ultimate scheme of the universe, in the reality of the divine, in the truth of who we are, the incarnations of love and light, with eternity to express and to experience and to learn and to grow. I look into the infinite and I see love and peace. And it is that truth which I grab onto as the solid reality that I hold in my consciousness. Karen and I have had a lot of conversation in the last 6 or 8 months about how much news has come into our lives. Facebook, all the little pop-ups, all the notifications on all of the devices. Then things start to happen, and we start watching the news, and then we got to have to see what happened next. And we don't want to put our head in the sand. We don't want to be the kind of metaphysicians who pretend nothing's going on. So you got to be informed, right? But that barrage of negativity becomes the mindset from which we operate. And so one of the ways that we move out of fear is that we stop inundating ourselves with it. Not that we don't know that there are things going on. We keep ourselves just enough informed that we know what's going on. But a steady diet of it, do you see, that begins to become the underlying framework through which we see everything. And then we miss the good that's happening on the one hand, and we start believing in our own fear. And when we start believing in our own fear, then that's all we see. And we miss the places and the ways where that behavior that has made us afraid is actually not happening. And our filtration system of fear becomes our fear becomes the filtration system that we use to gather what's going on in the world. Do you see? And then that begins to escalate and escalate and escalate. And so I would say stop inundating yourself with the news. That's the very first thing. We have to stay informed enough, but we cannot be on this steady diet of negativity. And our media seems motivated. You know, I remember hearing a journalist say, that which bleeds leads. Literally, that's what they were saying 20 years ago, how to move the newspapers back into prominence. What bleeds leads. And so that, right? And so it feels as though, well, that's all that's happening, that's all that's happening, that's all that's happening. Now, some of that stuff is coming to light because we have to see it. There's no question about it. But a steady diet of it is going to cause us to be fearful. And so our spiritual work is, well, what's the spiritual truth? I live in a safe universe. The universe is a place of love and light. There are so many people doing so much good in so many ways. There's so much good work being done. Do you see? And then we begin to focus on that. And we do our spiritual work to reground ourselves in our spiritual truth and to be causal. Yeah, I said this to Karen just 2 weeks ago even, that I had discovered that all of a sudden I had started becoming afraid again. And I was like, oh, no. No. That is not the spiritual truth, right? And that's our discipline. That's our spiritual discipline. And it's not pretending that it doesn't exist, not in any way, shape, or form. It's standing in our spiritual truth. We do, in fact, live in a safe universe. The fundamental truth of the divine presence is love and light. And we will continue to behave and speak and be that candle, that radiant light. And if ultimately it should cost our lives do not end. Spirit goes on. The one infinite power and presence that is us. Right? Isn't that the thing we fear the most? That somehow something that we will do will cause us to lose our life. And if we can confront, that is the deep truth, that is the deepest fear. And recognize that even when this body is laid down, life is not ended. Growth continues. Love continues. Then perhaps all of the lives that are being lost right now, today, each one of them is a candle. A candle to remind us of who we are, how we want to be, and the human family that we want to grow into, and the life that we want to create together.